the Bottom Line Podcast. I'm Jimmy Finizzi alongside Neil Villapiano. We hope you're doing well. As always, thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to listen to us. We really do appreciate it. Before we get started, questions, opinions, Twitter and Instagram at Bottomline WMCX, and on Twitter at The NVP Show, hashtag Bottomline. Voice message on Anchor, the app, or Anchor.fm. And if you're watching on YouTube, leave a like and a comment down below, and make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single video that we upload. And also make sure you subscribe on Apple, Google, and Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Just include my first name, Jimmy, when searching for this podcast. Neil, this is it. Episode 199 next week is it. 200 officially hits next week. It really is hard to believe how fast time has gone with this.
Yeah, I mean, the old saying goes, time flies when you're having fun. And I can say from my own experience being on here for about almost a year. I think
almost a year, yeah.
I
think this upcoming November will be your first year as my official co-host.
Yeah, so it's still been less than a year, but ever since you asked me to be a co-host, I've had a lot of fun. Obviously, it's been different over the last handful of months because, we're doing it remotely and not together. But nonetheless, we still have a great time doing it, and it's been a lot of fun, and I'm glad that it's just another place where we can talk about things that we really enjoy talking about, and we have good discussions, good debates like we had on Sunday, no doubt. I mean, not Sunday, but this past Tuesday.
The last episode, yeah.
This last Tuesday about what happened on Sunday and Monday. But no, it's been great, and episode 200 next Tuesday. It's pretty impressive. It's pretty remarkable how far this podcast has come. And
absolutely. Just a few more details on that real quick before we get into what we're going to talk about. So basically the way next week is going to go for episode 200 is that Neil and I will be recording on next Tuesday, the 22nd, and Wednesday, the 23rd. The episode will actually premiere on September 24th that morning. So keep your eyes and ears peeled for that. I'll definitely post a reminder on social media, so stay tuned for that, and hopefully I can speak today. But anyway, so today we're going to talk about NBA playoffs and the Stanley Cup playoffs. But before we get into that, I've got some trivia for you today, and it has nothing to do with what we're talking about. We discussed this off the air. It actually has to do with the Yankees, considering the fact that all of a sudden they're red hot. They won 7 in a row. And Kyle Higashioka had the game of his life last night, hitting 3 home runs. So maybe they may want to consider starting him over Sanchez. Just a thought. But anyway, so Neil, here's the question I have for you.
Sure.
So as I mentioned, Kyle Higashioka became the 3rd catcher to hit 3 home runs in a game. There are 2 other Yankees who have done it. Can you name them?
This is actually a very good question.
I saw this on the post game show on the Yes Network last night, and I thought, this is very, very interesting stuff. So, 2 other Yankee catchers who hit 3 home runs in a game. Who are they?
Well, I would imagine one of them is probably Jorge Posada, right?
It is not actually. No.
Oh, okay, so I'll probably have to go back.
I'll give you a hint for one of them. He did play in the '90s. This one player, but it's not who you think.
Probably not Joe Girardi either.
It is not Joe Girardi.
It's someone definitely random.
Yes. It's somebody who you would never think of, but he did play in the 90s.
In the 90s. Well, Shane Spencer wasn't a catcher. He was an outfielder.
Yes.
And I'm guessing the other one is probably from like the 60s or the 70s, right?
The other one, you have to go back to the 1930s.
1930. Well, it's not Yogi Berra, obviously.
No, it's not Yogi Berra. No,
Yogi Berra was a pipsqueak then. Not Elston Howard. No, maybe.
No, but that's a good guess.
No, he didn't play in the 30s. He played in the 60s.
Still a good guess, though.
No, it's not.
Honestly, that's who I would have guessed if I didn't know the answer to this question.
Yeah, no, the guys you would think would be like Elston Howard, Thurman Munson.
Jorge Posada as well. Yogi, it would have been another good guess, yeah.
Pudge Rodriguez for like the 1.5 season that he was on the Yankees.
Yeah, right.
It wasn't obviously Gary Sanchez because he's lucky.
No. It was not
game.
Gary Sanchez.
So one of them was in the 90s, but it wasn't somebody that.
Yes, and the other one was actually, the other one was in the late 1930s.
Late 1930s.
Late 1930s.
Well, he must have played on the Murderers Row team, probably. He played with Gehrig and Ruth. This guy from late 30s.
I believe this guy, I believe, did. Yeah. Yes. Excuse me.
You need a cough button, by the way.
I wish.
That,
I wish. If only this was a live radio, we could have one of those right there. That would be fantastic.
That would be great. To be honest with you, I'm stumped because I've kind of gone through all of my guesses. I don't really know.
To be fair, this was a bit tough because again, if I didn't see this on Yes last night, there was no way in hell I would have gotten this either. So the answers are Mike Stanley, who did it on August 10th, 1995 against the Cleveland Indians.
Mike Stanley.
Unfortunately, the Yankees still lost the game, but I digress there. So Mike Stanley in 1995 and Bill Dickey on July 26th, 1939. And I do not remember the team he did it against, but Mike Stanley and Bill Dickey were the only two other catchers to get 3 home runs in a game outside of Kyle Higashioka last night. Right.
Well, obviously that's definitely a tough one. Definitely one that I don't think most people would know.
Yeah.
But
like I said, I wouldn't have known it if
Bill
I didn't see it last night. So
Bill Dickey is relatively well known in Yankee history, so I guess that could have been one that I maybe should have tried to get. But
that's all right.
But
I'll give you a pass.
Mike Stanley was definitely not someone on my radar. I don't even really know who that is, to be honest with you.
He definitely wasn't on mine either. But But hey, again, to be fair, it was a little tough, and again, I wouldn't have gotten that either if I didn't see it on Yes. But I digress there. So there's your trivia segment. So I figured it would only be fitting to start off with the story that's a bit hotter right now in the NBA playoffs, and that would be the Denver Nuggets. I mean, my goodness gracious. I mean, to think they were down 3-1 against the Clippers. And by the way, the Clippers absolutely choked this series. I mean, to go 3-1 and blow leads of 19 points, if you can see my fingers, that is, 19 points, 16 points, and 17 points. And by the way, the 17-point lead was in Game 7. I mean, are you absolutely kidding me? And look, with the Nuggets, Jamal Murray is going to be a problem. Jamal Murray is an absolute monster. He went off for 40 in Game 7. Yep. And I think Kawhi Leonard and Paul George combined in Game 7 had 24 points combined. That is inexcusable. I'm sorry. If you're up 3-1, you have to seal the deal. I am sorry. The Clippers, that is an absolute choke job. It is such a failure of a season for them, considering the fact that they were one of the favorites to go to the finals.
Yeah.
And to blow a 3-1 lead like that. And not only that, like I said, blow double-digit leads in multiple games is absolutely inexcusable. Now you can put the blame. You can put blame on all angles. You can put the blame on the players. You can put the blame possibly on Doc Rivers, although I don't want to give him too much blame. But I think mainly the blame has to go to the players, because I think you could tell they definitely looked fatigued in Game 7. Definitely in the fourth quarter, you could tell they were tired. But here's the thing. They didn't look like they wanted to be there to begin with. It looked like they didn't even care at one point in this series. And I'm like, you're up 3-1.
Yeah.
You should care enough to finish the job and meet the Lakers in the Western Conference Finals. But no, you end up blowing the lead, and now the Lakers are playing the Denver Nuggets. Now, I'll give you my prediction on who will win that series in a little bit, but bottom line is the Clippers, massive choke job, massive fail of a season, but hey, do not sleep on the Denver Nuggets, man. This team is no joke. And you know what? They could potentially pull off an upset against the Lakers, but I'll give my prediction in a little bit, like I said, but give Denver a hell of a lot of credit for what they did. But if you're the Clippers, I'm sorry. You're not getting a pass from me.
I think someone else deserves credit, and that would be me.
Yeah, yes, you do.
I might have been the only person that believed that the Denver Nuggets could get this far. And matter of fact, I told you that I had them winning the championship. Now,
yes,
they haven't done that yet, obviously. They still have to get past the Lakers. And I brought this up yesterday on Mofobo Network Presents, the latest YouTube video. I did a preview of the conference finals. I want to bring it up, and I'll bring it up here.
Go subscribe to that, by the way, and also the podcast.
Yeah, please do. And I guess I'll promote that at the end of the video, end of the podcast today. Look at it this way. The Nuggets have basically dealt with every sort of adversity you can think of, except, knock on wood, some of their star players being injured. That's about the only adversity they haven't faced. Yep. But when you look at it, you realize to yourself, they were down 3-1 to Utah. We were all talking about how tremendous Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert were playing. And it just said, wow, what a disappointment from Denver.
Right.
They had such high expectations this year, blah, 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 blah. But they came back and they won that series, albeit they nearly lost it anyway, but they still came back and won that series. And then they play the Clippers, and through the first 4 games, it was just a complete domination by the Clippers. And we said, yep, let's keep moving on. We won an all LA series, blah, blah, that's what everybody was expecting, and that's what people wanted. And the Denver Nuggets were like, we don't care about that. We're going to come out here, we're going to play the best that we can. And I think what you saw as the series progressed is the Nuggets had a lot more mental toughness. I don't think the Clippers did. I think that once they gave the Nuggets a little bit of an opening to get back in the series, the Nuggets took full advantage of that. And you saw as the series progressed that it got worse and worse for the Clippers. I mean, in 2 games in a row, you had a 20-plus point lead, and you let it slip, and you ended up losing the game. You go into Game 7, you have a 12-point lead halfway through the second quarter, and you have a chance to really kind of, put your foot in the ground and not let this happen again and put doubt in the Nuggets. Because I think the Clippers, what they failed to do in this entire series was put doubt in that Nuggets team that,
right.
what, we can't beat this team. And it just – that's what it was. But the Nuggets fought back, cut it to just 2 points at the half, and right then and there you knew, okay, the Nuggets are going to come out swinging in the second half. They're coming out swinging. And they excuse my language, they kicked their ass in the second half. That's basically what happened. That's basically what you saw. And it got to the point where the Nuggets are up by 25. And I'm sitting there saying, okay, this is that opportunity for the Clippers. Can they do the role reversal and come back themselves from down 20-plus points? The closest they got was 18, and that's what they ended up losing by. I mean, you lost by double digits. You got destroyed, particularly in the fourth quarter when you went almost the first half of the fourth quarter without making a single basket. You went something like 0 for 11, 0 for 12 from the field before you made your first shot, and it was off a putback off a missed shot anyway. And that is really unacceptable. And
by the way, I don't mean to cut you off, I apologize, but whoever shot that one ball, I think it was Paul George, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
Whoever shot that ball, and it went off the side of the backboard.
It was Paul George.
It was, oh my God. I was sitting there thinking to myself, that's Little League stuff right there. You can't miss a shot like that.
I think that the pressure at the end of the day just got to the Clippers. I think that the fact that they knew they blown a 3-1 lead, they were down by double digits at that point to Denver. They said, we're just going to have to play desperate. And even playing desperation basketball, it failed. And I would have thought that Jamal Murray or Nikola Jokic would be the main catalyst for winning that game. And I mean, look, they played very well. You looked at Jokic, he got a double-double and had something like 15 assists. But the guy that really caught my eye in Game 7 was Paul Millsap. Paul Millsap, particularly on the defensive end. And, yeah, he's been critical of late for the fact that he can go very cold to the point where obviously Michael Porter Jr. has to come in and then play. And MPJ didn't play very much, and he kind of struggled. But that's okay because the Nuggets have a relatively good rotation going Millsap, this was his opportunity to really, step up, and he did. And that was the big thing. Because I think a lot of people want to say that, oh, Denver needs that third star. You know what I mean? They have Jamal Murray.
Well, I think they already have him.
And I think that they don't need a third star because they have a bunch of workman-like players surrounded by those guys. Gary Harris played really well. I mean, you had obviously Paul Millsap. You had Michael Porter Jr. Even Mason Plumlee, who didn't play that much in this series, still contributed, especially grabbing rebounds. So That's really good. But obviously, the game went through Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic. And what they both have done is they have solidified themselves as one of the most up-and-coming duos in the NBA. We've talked about before with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown how they might be the best duo that we've seen in quite some time, certainly going into the future. But Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic, this is now their opportunity to really put themselves on a big stage. They're one of the last remaining teams in the Western Conference, and they're going up against arguably their toughest test in LeBron James and Anthony Davis and the Lakers. I will say this, that if it gets to being a low-scoring game, a lot of these games in this series become low-scoring, the advantage goes to Denver because they play a stingy type of defense. They know that LeBron and AD are much more focused on trying to score down low than really shooting from outside. And if they can force other guys on the Lakers, guys like, Rajon Rondo, Danny Green, Kuzma, Caruso, J.R. Smith, those guys, they can force them to shoot it a lot more, force them to kick it out. That's going to play right into Denver's hands. And so far, nobody's been able to figure out how to put doubt in this Denver team. That's the big thing. Denver doesn't have any doubt in itself that they can't go and win. They just beat the Clippers. They just beat Utah, both times down 3-1. There's nothing the Lakers can do early on in the series that's going to shake the confidence. The Lakers could win by 30 tonight, completely blow them out, and it's not going to affect Mike Malone and that team. It's just not going to. They're not fazed by it, okay? If they go up 3-0, maybe, just maybe, there's a little bit more doubt there, but if it goes to 3-1 LA, we're already going to be talking about it. We're already going to be talking about, okay, so how is Denver going to come back from this? Like, that's what you have to look at. And I will say this. If Denver gets past the Lakers, whether they come back from 3-1 or they dominate, however they do it, if they just get past the Lakers and go to the finals, I don't care if they play the Heat or the Celtics. They're not losing that series. They're winning the whole damn thing. Because right now, it's the Lakers championship to lose at this point. Now, the toughest, in theory, the toughest team you were going to face in the Western Conference got knocked out in the second round by the Nuggets. Say, oh, the Nuggets are a Cinderella story, or they're just they're riding momentum. The reality is that they're a very, very good up-and-coming team. They built their team naturally. For the most part, they're guys that they drafted and developed. Paul Millsap is really one of the only guys that they didn't draft and develop. Paul Millsap has just adapted very well to Mike Malone's system. But you look at a guy like Michael Porter Jr., who we all expected before he got hurt at Mizzou to be the number 1 overall pick. And that was still the year with DeAndre Ayton, Luka Doncic, and Trae Young. We weren't talking about those three. We were talking about Michael Porter Jr. But Michael Porter Jr. got hurt. He dropped to the middle of the first round. Denver gets him, and he's now showcasing himself as to why he has so much talent, why he was considered to be the number 1 overall pick. Now, should he get involved in the game plan a little bit more? Yes. But at the same time, if the way it's going right now is working and giving you success, you can't change it. You just can't. But if Michael Porter Jr. gives you an advantage in some aspects, use him. And I think that's what you're going to see. So bottom line is that this is a resilient Denver Nuggets team. They are not going to be fazed by anything the Lakers put at them. And if the Lakers even take a little bit for granted this Nuggets team, I'm going to be honest with you, the Lakers are going to have a lot of trouble. Because I know they lost the first game, both in the first round against Portland and then the second round against Houston. But what did they do right after that? Won the next 4 straight games like it was nothing. That's going to be, if Denver can win the first game and then win the second game, then you start wondering to yourself, are the Lakers capable of beating this Nuggets team? The Nuggets are going to come out like a house on fire right away. And the Lakers have been off for over a week. So let's see what happens here.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I'm not sleeping on Denver in this series. Do not get me wrong. And by the way, I believe Denver is the first team in NBA history to come back from multiple 3-1 deficits. And by the way, in consecutive playoff series.
You really love to see it.
That just shows you how much resilience that this Nuggets team really, really has. So bottom line, do not sleep on the Denver Nuggets in this series against the Lakers. However, I think this series is going 7 games. It's going 7, and I still have the Lakers winning this series. But I'll tell you what, if Denver wins this series, it will not shock me in the slightest. And if they end up going to the NBA Finals, I will give them I've already given them credit, but I will give them even more credit if they have the chance, if they pull off this upset against the Lakers. And I'll tell you what, they have an excellent chance to do so. But I still like the Lakers in 7.
No home court advantage, no fans. That's what we've seen this entire playoff series. That's why you've seen the amount of upsets that we've seen, okay? Because there is no real advantage. It's just man versus man playing basketball. That's really what we're seeing. Right. I still have Denver winning this series, and I have them winning it at 7. And everybody,
Denver
of course,
7.
once again, is going to say, but it's the Lakers. And it's like, yeah, we said, yeah, but it's the Clippers. And
look what happened.
So I don't want to hear it. And I'm not going to change my opinion on the Nuggets just because they're playing the mighty Lakers. I expected them to play the Lakers in the conference finals. This conference finals was something I was expecting, and here we are. Here we are, and I'm going with I'm not the Clippers. God forbid I went with the Clippers.
It's all right.
I'm going with the Nuggets. I have to. There is no choice, and I think that the Nuggets are going to actually get a lead in this series. I don't think it's going to.
They might, absolutely.
3-1, and they come back. I think that it's going to go back and forth. I think these teams are going to trade wins. It's just going to be a competitive series from start to finish. And as the series progresses, I'm going to be honest with you, unless LeBron can really will the rest of his guys to step up, that team's going to be mentally fatigued. That's what the Nuggets did. They got to the point where they forced the Nuggets to be mentally and physically fatigued. You heard after Game 7 that, players wanted, more rest. And it's like, weren't you already doing that during the first 8 games before the playoffs?
Right.
Weren't you already doing that? Like, are you really that tired? The reality is that the Nuggets beat them down physically and mentally. That's what you're going to see in this series. You're going to see Denver play aggressive, Denver play physical. LeBron and AD are definitely the type of players that are capable of dealing with that. There is no question about it. And if they're able to do it, they should be fine. But even if they have a sliver of being tired or, discouraged, frustrated, whatever you want to say, the Clippers are going to go, checkmate, we got them. Like, that's exactly what they're going to say. We got this. We can do this. It's, the Nuggets at this point are like, why not us? Why not us? Why don't we shock the world? How about we go win a championship? Nobody thought we'd do it this year. Why don't we do it? And you know what? I'm with it. I'm with it exactly. I think Mike Malone is going to have a scheme that's going to really give the Nuggets an advantage defensively. If you can force AD to shoot from the outside, even though he has done well, he's just not an outside shooter. LeBron can shoot the 3. LeBron is the best player in the NBA, okay? But LeBron is much more, interested in driving the lane, getting a foul, going down with a big dunk. That he plays the old school type of basketball, back in the early 2000s. That's what the NBA was back then. So if the Lakers are forced to shoot from the outside a lot more, they're not a good outside shooting team, in my opinion. They're not. They're not. They haven't shown it. They're not like the Clippers. They're not like the Celtics or the Heat, where they really focus on the three-point shot. They play a little bit more old school. And Frank Vogel, my friend, I give you absolutely no credit for the fact that the Lakers are this good, because literally anybody could come in and do it. There is no question about it. But if you really want to prove something to me, you better have this Lakers team be ready to go. Because if you take your foot off the gas and you take that Nuggets team for granted, even for just a second, the Nuggets are going to make you pay. And that's what I think is going to happen in this series. So give me the Nuggets 7.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Hey, that doesn't surprise me. You have Denver. Hey, you have them going all the way to the championship and winning it. So
forget just
I'm definitely not surprised there. I still like the Lakers in 7, but I'll tell you what. If Denver pulls this off, I will not be surprised in any way, and I am not sleeping on them in this series one bit. And then you have Boston and Miami. Speaking of that series, this is going to be a long one, folks, because if game one didn't give you any indication this was going to be a long series, what the heck have you been watching? Because not only does the game go into overtime and the Heat won 117-114, but Boston had a 14-point lead. The Heat come back. It goes into overtime, like I said, and then you have Bam Adebayo's block on Jason Tatum, which, by the way, might be one of the best blocks I've ever seen in my life. Yeah. And that really kind of set the tone with how this series is going to go, in my opinion, because Miami's been a bit of a surprise this year. I mean, did anybody expect them to make the conference finals at all? I mean, I certainly didn't.
Probably not.
Most likely not. I certainly didn't. But hey, Jimmy Butler, of course, has been on fire. They still have. Is their coach still Eric Spoelstra?
It's always been.
Yeah, that also doesn't surprise me in the slightest. Yeah. But the supporting cast around Jimmy Butler has been fantastic all season long, and I think it's going to keep up in this series. And it wouldn't surprise me if Boston does come back and win this series. But you know what?
We're only down one game.
I said it on Twitter. I'll say it here. I have Miami winning this series. I have Miami going to the NBA Finals against the Lakers. I mean, that matchup would not only be interesting to see how LeBron and AD would do against Jimmy Butler and whoever he's teamed up with. I don't know the full Miami Heat roster, so I apologize. But
all good.
That series would be very, very interesting in my opinion. And any series in this NBA Finals would be fascinating in my opinion. Any series I would watch start to finish. I'm that intrigued by these NBA playoffs. These playoffs this season have been nothing short of spectacular, in my opinion. I am looking forward to seeing how the Boston-Miami series finishes out, and I'm looking forward to this Nuggets-Lakers series. So I have Miami in 7, but I'm not sleeping on Boston either, because Boston's no joke either. Yeah. Although Jason Tatum may not want to get posterized the way he did by Bam Adebayo. So, but that's another discussion for another day. Yeah. But again, that's one of the best blocks I've ever seen in my life. But I have Miami in 7. This is going to be a long series because both teams, they love to score, and clearly they love to block and play defense. So give me Miami in 7.
These are two of the most evenly matched teams we've seen in some time in the conference finals. I mean, they both play. First of all, they both love to shoot the three-pointer. There is no question. Both of them are nearly at 40% in these playoffs shooting from downtown. First, and I think it's safe to say that they are the two best three-point shooting teams in the playoffs. They both play a physical style of defense. They are not afraid to be physical. They are not afraid to attack you when it comes to trying to take it. I mentioned this yesterday on my YouTube video that Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are two of the most aggressive players statistically in the NBA when it comes to contesting three-point shots. So even in game number 1, you saw that. They're not just going to back up and let these guys shoot. They're going to come right up on you, and they're going to make you try to shoot it anyway. Yep. And sometimes it worked out, and sometimes it didn't. That's just how this sport goes. But talking about the Miami Heat first, obviously, they're one of the biggest stories of the NBA season this year, even before we had the shutdown back in early March. Right. They completely were, and pun intended, on fire, and they played what they play. The way they play the game is very old school, and it's built around who Jimmy Butler is as a player. Jimmy Butler was not considered this very talented superstar in the making coming out of college, okay? He's had to work very hard, being in the gym every day, constantly perfecting his craft to make him as good as he is right now. And he went to a Philadelphia 76ers team last year, and he was the biggest reason that they had the success that they had. And you could see the difference when Jimmy wasn't on the 76ers this past season. You could see how much they really loved having him on the team and how much, how much of an effect it had. But Jimmy comes to Miami, and you got to give Pat Riley a lot of credit. One of the smartest people in the NBA. Yep. He saw the potential that Jimmy Butler could have for this team. And he comes here, and they draft a guy like Tyler Hero, who is the best three-point shooter in the draft, and he is constantly on fire. You have Duncan Robinson, who I think they said something like Duncan Robinson has the most career made free throws before he reaches the age of like 22.
I think they did say that, yeah.
And he's not even in his 20s. And that was a record that was previously held by what people consider the greatest shooter of all time in Steph Curry. I mean, and that shows you right there. Then they make a trade with Memphis to acquire Jay Crowder, who Jay Crowder had kind of gone, throughout the NBA. I think he was involved in the trade for Kyrie Irving, if my memory is correct. But he comes to the Heat, and all of a sudden he develops a three-point game and becomes that much more of a lethal threat. Forget about down low and forget about playing defense. This guy, if you even give him a little bit of an open, especially as you saw in game one, this man can just knock it down. And it's crazy. It really, really is. And then you have Goran Dragic, who it's not a surprise that he is the maestro that he is. He's been that way since he got in the league. But you could see that he just knows where to get the ball all the time. That pick and roll that he does with Jimmy Butler and Bam is phenomenal. And if you give Goran Dragic even a little bit of an opening, he's going to make you pay, whether it's just driving to the lane, being aggressive, or dishing it out to the point and having someone else take the shot. And then you have Bam Adebayo, who's from Newark, by the way. I just want to point that out.
Hey, he's a Jersey guy.
Yeah, well, he was born in Jersey. Grew up in the Carolinas, I believe.
Right, yes.
Anyway, Bam is not your traditional big man, okay? He is much more of a balance between a guy that can definitely dominate down low, but also he can shoot it from beyond the arc. And that's just how the NBA game is nowadays. Like, everybody's just a mid-range to three-point shooting big man now.
Right.
So it doesn't surprise me. But Bam, more than anything else, is a physical player. He's not afraid to bang the body. And you saw Jason Tatum. He drives the lane, and for 2-3 seconds, I'm like, okay, he's going to lay that up. Because I thought it was just going to be, he was just going to lay it up. But he went to go for the dunk. If Bam was a second late, Jason Tatum dunks that. That's just what it was. But Bam saw it coming, and you could see, because I saw a screenshot stop of, I think Worldwide Wob posted it on Twitter. His fingers, Bam's fingers was bent like this, and the ball was still looking like it was going in, and it didn't go in. And it was just, the caption of the picture was like, how? Like, how did that not go in at all?
Yeah, exactly.
It would have been such a big poster and a big momentum thing for the Celtics if Tatum made that, because it would have given them a lead with just seconds to go. And, the Heat could have still gone down and responded and scored and won the game anyway. But the emotionality of that dunk would have really hurt the Heat for a couple of seconds there and might have rattled them to getting that go-ahead bucket down the other way. But Bam makes that block, and that was one of the clutchest plays in crunch time I've ever seen. A tremendous job by him. But that play right there just, exemplifies who the Miami Heat are. They're a tough, physical, grinded out, old school type of team. They play the way that Jimmy Butler has played his entire career. And you have to give credit where credit is due. A lot of people were interested to see how Eric Spoelstra would coach the Heat once the Dwayne Wade, LeBron James, Chris Bosh era was done. It was like, okay, is he a good coach, or is it just because of the great players that he had?
Oh, he's clearly a great coach.
For a year or two, it kind of, they weren't making the playoffs, and they kind of were like middle of the pack. But over the last 2 years, and especially this year, Eric Spoelstra is showing he's one of the smartest coaches in the NBA, should be one of the top 5 coaches in the NBA, period, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
And Pat Riley is one of the best executives that I've seen in quite some time with what he's been able to do. And this team is a playoff-tested team. They have beaten a lot. They've beaten 2 teams that play very differently. The Indiana Pacers were a little bit more physical, in my opinion. But the Heat just beat them, mentally and physically, and that's just how it was. We all knew the Heat were probably going to win that series. I think I had them winning in 5. I think they ended up sweeping. Then they go and play the Bucks. And everybody was like, okay, so the Bucks should have this series, no problem. Nope. The Heat kicked their ass for 3 straight games, and if it wasn't for Chris Middleton stepping up, the Bucks would have gotten swept. But they ended up losing in 5. It was an embarrassing series for Giannis. It was an embarrassing series for Milwaukee in general. And I remember I did a whole, kind of evaluation of Giannis and the Bucks on the Mofobo Network podcast last week. And if you haven't checked out that episode, please Please go check that out if you want to learn more about my thoughts on that front. But the Heat beat them, and now they're in a position where they are, well, obviously with winning game one, they're 3 wins away from going to the finals. And they are a very, very scary team. And if they get going here tonight in game 2, I think, yeah, it is tonight, game 2, I don't know if the Celtics can come back. I really don't. But that's just my opinion on the Heat. Now, talking about the Celtics, this is the big thing. The Celtics finally found the leader in their point guard that they were looking for. We thought that they got it when they traded for Kyrie Irving. That proved to not be the case. They signed Kemba Walker. Kemba finally plays for an actually half-decent team. And even though at times Kemba's not been, the consistent player, and he even admitted after game 1 that he played like crap. He played terrible. So obviously Kemba's going to come out with a response here in game 2. Would not be surprised if he tried to do it all by himself. And look, if he does it and they win, that's great. But obviously the main catalyst for this team is Jason Tatum, who is probably going to end up by the end of this year being considered one of the top 10 players in the NBA, because he has developed his game so much, particularly from the outside. He understood where the NBA game is now. He worked on his three-point shooting and is nearly 50% from the three-point line. That's really, really impressive considering the type of player that he is. Now, that being said, I want to be critical of Jason Tatum for what he did late in game number 1.
Okay.
First of all, you get a break by getting fouled before you inbounded the ball. So you get a free throw to tie the game because you were down by 1. You make that free throw, tie game. Now you can just hold on for the last shot, and you don't even have to shoot a 3. You didn't even need to shoot a 3 when you were down by 1. You can focus on driving the lane, because throughout the entire game, they were calling fouls down low. Anytime you went down there, you were going to get called for a foul. So Tatum should have tried to drive the lane and get fouled, because I think that there was a good opportunity that he got fouled, that he would get fouled. And if he didn't, you know what? I'm not going to be critical, because you didn't need a 3. But he got the ball with 6 seconds left and was way beyond the three-point line, and I already knew at that point he was going to shoot a 3. Now, if he made it, good for him. Awesome. They win game 1. But he missed it. He front-rimmed it. Okay? He didn't even get it on top of the rim. He front-rimmed it. And that pissed me off. I knew that the Celtics were in trouble in game 1 when they did that. And you saw it in the overtime game. Then he decides the second time to drive the lane, and he got blocked. I'm not critical of that, okay? I'm not critical because that was a tremendous defensive play by Bam Adebayo. I'm not going to be critical, okay? But what I'm saying is that the Celtics had a chance late in the fourth quarter to win that game, and Tatum made the wrong decision. And I understand think he made the wrong decision and recognizes it and says, I'm not going to do that again. I'm not going to do that again. If I get in that position again, I'm going to go down low. Because they're going to call it. I'm sorry. They call it. 3/4 of the time, they're going to call a foul. And I know the refs don't want to be involved in the game and don't want to be the reason. But in that sense, they're going to call it. And I can't imagine a situation where Tatum doesn't try to drive, whether it's getting a layup or trying to get a dunk, particularly trying to get a dunk, and he gets fouled. And he doesn't get fouled. I mean, that's really what it was. But other than that, Tatum played a really good game. Jaylen Brown played a really good game. Freaking Marcus Smart had like 15 points, it seemed like, through the first 6 minutes of the first quarter. It looked like he was going to drop 70, like the way he was shooting the ball. And he has done a tremendous job from outside. I mean, we've talked about Marcus Smart being an aggressive defensive player, a pain in the ass to play against. If now he all of a sudden has become an offensive threat when shooting from the three-point line, that's a big issue. That's a big issue for the Miami Heat. And he's going to continue to shoot from that point. Then you have guys like Daniel Tice, where Tice didn't play that well in game number 1. And he fouled out. He had 4 points and he fouled out.
Right.
If he could stay out of foul trouble, he's the best option they have when guarding Bam Adebayo. Unless you really want to put in Taco Fall, which you don't even have him suiting up. So that's just – it's like Bol. It's just not going to happen. Even though we all want it to happen, it's not going to happen. And then you have Williams, who can kind of be the backup to Daniel Tice. And I think if you put up different matchups, then you can kind of evaluate to see who's been the better defender on Bam. But Bam knows that he's going to try to get Daniel Tyson into foul trouble once again. That's what's going to happen. But, and the last thing I'll say is Gordon Hayward going to come back to play in the series at all? We don't know. Brad Stevens did say that there was a good chance that Gordon Hayward at some point would come back. If he could come back and play even half the type of game that he's capable of playing, the Celtics then have a competitive advantage, in my opinion. But Gordon Hayward has to get healthy. The Celtics have done well without him, but obviously having him in the lineup would be that much better. The Celtics should not be demoralized from losing game one. I think that they're going to have a big response in game two. Now that they understand what they're in for playing this Miami Heat team. And remember, the Celtics won 2 out of the 3 matchups against the Heat in this season, including one in the bubble.
Right.
So they can beat this team. They know they can. And Brad Stevens, being the smart guy that he is, he doesn't have as big of a rotation off the bench as Eric Spoelstra does. But the way he's done things has worked for the team that he has. And he's going to continue to be that way. I wouldn't be surprised if you saw the Celtics try to shoot from the outside a little bit more than they did in game number 1. Because I think that they understand that that's the best way that they're going to win. But just like speaking with Toronto, if they're not making those shots, they're going to get down early and they're going to have a tough time climbing back. So the Celtics better be on their A-plus game starting game number 2 tonight. If they do that, they're probably going to win. If not, the Heat are going to go up 2-0. But the bottom line with this is that this is a series with 2 teams that are very similar. This series is going 7. I pointed that out before. And I've kind of gone back and forth with my predictions in the East because it's very hard because it almost feels like
I already know who you're taking. You told me on Twitter the other day.
Well, I did tell you on Twitter, and then I changed my mind on my YouTube video. So I'm kind of like, yeah, I did actually.
Well then.
I'm kind of like in this where I want to say like not applicable, like the NA type of thing because I really don't know. Like it feels like a toss up to me. But if I had to pick, if I really, really had to pick, without thinking about what happened in game number 1, because I'm not gonna do that.
Right.
I'd probably stay with my original pick and probably pick Boston in 7.
Boston in 7. Okay.
But I'm not, if the Heat win, I'm not gonna sit here and be like, oh, I called it. I'm just like, it's one of those series where it's very difficult for me to like give a definitive to feel confident in one or the other answer. So am I like not being consistent? Yeah, but it's like one of the first times that I'm not. So it's a difficult pick, but I guess for here, I'll go with Boston in 7.
I mean, to be fair, it is a tough series to pick. You're absolutely right because we know what both teams are capable of doing, and it clearly showed in game 1. So I completely get where you're coming from, but I have Miami in 7. I'm not changing that. You have Boston in 7. So are you officially sticking with Boston in 7 here?
It's tough.
Yeah.
Can I tell you after game 2?
Yes.
No, I'll just stick with Boston.
Stick with Boston in 7.
Yeah,
all right. So you officially
and of course, people will go to my YouTube video from yesterday and be like, "Oh, okay, well, Neil's full of crap." He said Miami in 7 on there. So which one is it? Again, not applicable.
So as we stand right now, you have Boston and Denver in the NBA Finals.
Yeah.
I have Miami and the Lakers. So this should be very, very interesting.
Right.
I'll watch either series because both are going to be fascinating to watch.
One of us is going to be right about at least one of the predictions.
Yes.
So,
probably, yeah.
We'll see. Let's see what happens.
We'll see. But these NBA playoffs have been very, very exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing how they finish out. And last but not least, to wrap things up, Stanley Cup playoffs, because we still have to find out who the Dallas Stars will be facing in the Stanley Cup Finals. And we talked a little bit about Dallas in the last episode. If you didn't hear it, go check it out. But we talked about how much of a great Cinderella story they've been for a team that looked like they weren't even going to be there in the first place because they were struggling to score. Now all of a sudden they come out like a house on fire, and they're going to the Stanley Cup Final for the first time in 20 years. So you got to give them a whole lot of credit there. And by the way, your boy Joe Pavelski's finally getting another shot at winning a cup. So hey, maybe he can win it for you. We'll see.
No.
But it all depends on who they play, because the Islanders, this Islanders team is not going away quietly, man. It's 3-2 right now. I believe Game 6 is tonight, if I'm not mistaken. Tonight at 8 on NBC. So I'll definitely be.
Is it NBC or NBCSN?
I believe it's NBC.
It doesn't matter. It's just
Let me double check for you real quick.
There's no.
I believe. No, you're actually. Nope, it is NBCSN. You're right. I apologize.
Because obviously I was thinking to myself, like, well, I know there is football today. But
I totally forgot, and that's going to be a crap matchup, but I digress.
We talked about that, by the way? Are we going to – I mean, we can.
Let's not waste our breath. But.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's going to be – all right, you know what? Let's actually talk about it when we're done. No, seriously, let's do it.
Oh, my goodness.
But because, like, the thing, we do every Thursday, right? And there's always a Thursday night football game. We should do like our weekly Thursday night football pick'em.
Actually, you know what? Actually, yeah, you know what? Let's do it. We'll save that for the end.
Right,
but
we'll do that.
But listen, back to this series with the Tampa Bay and New York. Like I said, this Islanders team is not going away. I mean, they are not going down without a fight. You saw the amount of heart they actually showed in Game 5, where they were like, you know what? We're not going to take this anymore. We're going to give them a fight. We're going to force a Game 6, and now we're probably going to take that mentality from Game 5 and move it to Game 6. Now, will that show on the ice?
Yep.
We'll see. But keep in mind, Tampa Bay still doesn't have Steven Stamkos, and they were up 3-1. Now they're up 3-2. Oh, and by the way, if I'm not mistaken, Braden Point is hurt. Am I right?
Braden Point was out of game number 5. We don't know, and I was going to bring this up when it was my turn, but I guess I'll bring it up now. No, it's fine. I'll bring it up now. Braden Point did not play Game 5.
Yes.
He did not play Game 3.
Right.
And both of those games, the Lightning lost.
Right.
Here's the thing. First of all, that's the biggest question mark going into this game. Is Braden Point going to play? I think he probably will.
He's been their best player without Stamkos there. It was a
surprise because he didn't play in game number 3, but he came back and played in Game 4 and the Lightning won. And then he didn't play in Game 5. And the
Lightning lost.
You saw that the Islanders were playing a little bit more confident because they know that they've been struggling. Matter of fact, everybody's been struggling against playing against Braden Point. Because Braden Point, in my opinion, is the best player still left in the Stanley Cup playoffs. The
I
second
agree.
best player
Agree
is
100%.
in Nikita Kucherov.
What about Victor Hedman though? He might be one of the best defensemen we're seeing right now.
He is the best defenseman in the postseason. He is the best defenseman. Right behind him is Miro Heiskanen. Absolutely. And right after him is definitely John Klingberg. So
yes.
Looking at game number 6, do I think that the Islanders could win even if Braden Point is in? I do. I think that they're capable of doing it.
I agree.
To their identity in game number 5. They played a low-scoring game, even though they were outshot by a bunch. The Lightning outshoot everybody, so it's not like it made it.
That's true.
And the Islanders are one of those teams that when they get an opportunity, they usually are going to pounce on it. And that's what you saw in double overtime. 2-on-1 going the other way. Jordan Eberle gets a beautiful pass from Anders Lee. Ball game. Right there. And you know what? Vasilevsky nearly made the save anyway. It did hit off his glove and go in. So it's not like it was just.
He didn't miss that opportunity by much. He literally almost had it.
He didn't miss it. So the question is, did the Lightning give the Islanders the opening that they needed? We don't know. We may know the answer more
after Game 6
tonight. If the Islanders are able to force a Game 7, all of that pressure and all of the things we've talked about with Tampa over the last 5 years is going to come back to the boiling point and say, all right, can the Lightning exercise these demons? Because they're still trying to exercise some demons here, okay?
Yep.
They're still trying to. They still have to get back to the finals.
They sort of did after they redeemed themselves against Columbus, but they still have a lot more demons to exercise if they want to go to the Stanley Cup final and play Dallas. Because if they somehow lose Game 6 and then go into Game 7 and lose, we're going to be talking about this Lightning team be like, well, there goes that. It's a failed season. They still didn't exercise those demons, and it's probably going to be a while before they actually reach into the Stanley Cup.
Let me let me be very clear with talking about the Lightning situation. Last year was one of the most embarrassing performances I've seen from one team in the Stanley Cup playoffs. You got swept in the first round by the 8th seed Columbus Blue Jackets. You were up 3-0 in the first period of the first game and then lost that lead.
Oh, and by the way, they won the President's Trophy. But that doesn't mean anything if you don't do jack squat in the playoffs.
A paperweight. I'm so tired of people. I don't understand why that's a thing in the NHL.
Me neither. Any sense. What is that? Best regular season record? So what? Oh, whoop. You did great in the regular season. So what? You still have to perform in the playoffs. They didn't do it last year. They are doing a little bit better this year. But like I said, if they lose this series to the Islanders, we're going to be talking about these same demons over and over and over again until they somehow reach the finals one year.
If the Lightning lose tonight and then they lose Game 7, this will be more catastrophic, more embarrassing than last year. Because this year, you got past Columbus when everybody, including myself, picked Columbus to beat you.
So did I.
Beat up on Boston, which, yeah, they didn't have Tuukka Rask, but still, you beat up on Boston. And then you had a 3-1 lead against the up-and-coming New York Islanders. And you lose that series, and you don't even get to the finals again?
Yeah.
At that point, you have to make changes because you have all this talent, and you haven't been able to take advantage of it. And
exactly.
Yes, people want to say it would be great if the Lightning were fully healthy, if Braden Point was fully healthy, if freaking Steven Stamkos could play a game. But here's the thing with the Stamkos situation. Look at what the Lightning have done without Stamkos.
Exactly.
That's not a big deal. The big deal is that if Braden Point is still hurt and can't play, that becomes an issue.
Right.
Because even though the Lightning played a very good game, and they shouldn't be worried about how they played in game number 5, they are going to start panicking if they lose game 6. Because they will go from being up 3-1 to now they have to play a decisive game 7. And remember, no home ice advantage, no home crowd. It's going to be in their head, and there is nothing, and they can't go anywhere to distract themselves from that pressure. That pressure is going to be there. That pressure is going to be there. And you know Barry Trotz is going to come out, and he's not going to make any changes. There is nothing that the Islanders have done differently from the start of the series to now. People want to say, oh, Barry Trotz did a good job of making changes after game number 1. He didn't do anything.
He didn't have to do anything.
They just went and they kept playing. And Barry Trotz made it clear going into game number 5 that his team was not discouraged by the fact, that they were down. They were upset that they were down 3-1, and I don't blame them. Nobody's happy about that. But he wasn't discouraged because the team wasn't playing the way that they're capable of playing. They were playing very well. They were very competitive. They could have easily won these past 3 games. They could have won those, and they could be up 3-1 right now. It's very possible. If they come out and continue to play the same way, which the Lightning, other than game 1, haven't been able to figure out. I'm just going to call it like it is. They haven't really figured it out. They're in deep trouble going into game 7 because Barry Trotz doesn't lose very often in game number 7. And John Cooper, my friend, and you might look, Cooper is a very, very good coach, okay? And his story is, his story to becoming an NHL coach is awesome. He was originally a lawyer and then became a hockey coach. If they don't get it done, and I'm not just talking about getting to the finals, because they've already done that. But if they don't win the whole damn thing at this point,
see ya.
You might be gone. Just like Doc Rivers with the Clippers, you might be gone. Or at least your seat just got a lot hotter right away. So the Lightning, it's not time to panic. You can still come out tonight in game 7. You're most likely going to get the same type of game that you've seen in the last 5. You just have to get through it. You just got to win. And if that means you got to win a close 2-1 game or 3-2 game, so be it. Deal with it. Find a way to beat them. And for the Islanders, do not change a thing. Just keep playing the way you're playing. The only thing I would say, if you want to even make a change, the only thing I would suggest is maybe dropping Barzal down to the second line. And the reason that I say that before anybody panics is because even though Barzal is able to make a lot of plays without getting the puck in the back of the net, he needs to get the puck in the back of the net.
Yep.
I mean, this has been the big issue with the Islanders all season. They haven't scored. Now, has it hurt them? No, because they're 2 wins away from going to the finals. So has it really hurt them? No. But sometimes making a small tweak like that is important. And remember, Casey Cizikas is out. He's not even coming back. So you're already a little bit depleted. But you know what? You played a very inspired game. And guess what? You also scored on the power play, which was huge.
Oh.
If you get on the power play.
Considering the fact how abysmal their power play's been, that was huge for them.
Right. And it was Ryan Pulock who scored.
Yep.
And Ryan Pulock is arguably your best defenseman out of all of them. And he needs to get going. And maybe scoring that goal got him going a little bit. We don't know. We'll see how it goes in the game number 2. Here's the thing. Semyon Varlamov is going to be the one that I have to keep my eye on in this game because he played a phenomenal game number 5. If he's back to what he was doing through the first 2 rounds against first 3 rounds against Florida, Washington, and then the Flyers, the Lightning are screwed. They really are screwed because even though Vasilevsky has played very well and he hasn't had a bad game, a really bad game, 4 or 5 goals, really bad, hasn't had a bad game. If the Islanders are still going to win because if it's a low-scoring game, it's advantage to the Islanders because the Lightning will make mistakes. And if you make 1 or 2 mistakes, the Islanders 75% of the time are probably going to take advantage of it. And they did in Game 5, and you saw that. But if they win Game 6 tonight, the Islanders, give me the Islanders in 7 games. It's over. It's over. I have no belief whatsoever. There's a reason that I didn't pick the Lightning to win this series. They haven't proven it. We had this discussion on Twitter in our group chat with all of our other friends. Nobody in that group chat believes in the Lightning. We've seen them choke year in and year out. Until they prove us otherwise.
Actually, I think I picked them in 7, or was it?
No, you did. No,
7?
But you said also that you weren't 100% sure because it was the Lightning.
Yes, I do remember saying that. Yes, I do remember saying that.
Talking to Steve and talking to our friend Caitlin, who is a Stars fan, I might add, the Lightning have not proven over the last 5 years that they can get over the hump. And if they don't win Game 6. There is no reason that I'm going to pick the Lightning to somehow pull it out and win Game 7. Because by that point, you're going to be dealing with that pressure. Now, we've already seen 2 teams, including the Islanders, have a 3-1 lead, blow it, but still win game number 7.
Yep.
So if the trend is going to continue, the Lightning could still very well win game number 7.
Right.
But it's playoff hockey, and I just don't see that happening. Because playoff hockey is so much about chemistry and momentum, and it's such a magical, unpredictable sport that you never know what's going to happen. For all we know, Jimmy, the Islanders could come out and score 4 goals in the first period. I mean, it's very unlikely considering that they just don't do that.
Anything's possible, though.
Anything is possible. What did Kevin Garnett say after he won the NBA Finals in LA?
Anything's possible.
Possible. Because it's so true. Anything is possible. So I'm not going to give any prediction for tonight because I don't do that. I don't predict in the middle of the series. But I would say the advantage right now is to the Islanders, unless Braden Point plays. If Braden Point plays, the Lightning do have a better chance of winning. I'm not saying that they can't win without him, but you've already seen the 2 games that Braden Point has not played in these playoffs, the Lightning haven't won, and Kucherov hasn't stepped up. And it's not just about getting shots and being aggressive. It's actually about putting the puck in the back of the net.
Yep.
And they didn't do that in game number 5. Victor Hedman, if he didn't score that great goal, they lose 1-0.
Yep.
They lose 1-0. So if you're John Cooper, you got to hope that Braden Point can play. And even if he's not 100%, tough. Who cares? It's hockey. Deal with it. Unless his injury is bigger. Look, they say it's a lower body injury. We don't even know exactly what he's dealing with. They say he's deemed unfit to play. Whatever the hell that means.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? People want to say, it means he's got the Rona. No, it doesn't. Because Ben Bishop has been unfit to play since the beginning. I don't think that Ben Bishop has the Rona.
No.
I think he got hurt again.
And keep in mind, Ben Bishop did play in 1 game in their last series, and he wasn't good. Kudoman's been their best goaltender.
Kudoman.
Qdoba, I'm sorry.
I know everybody wants to say Qdoba. I know. It's so tempting. I've said Qdoba numerous times. I swear he should be the spokesperson for Qdoba. He'd make a lot of money. He really would. If he wins the cup, Qdoba's got to get on that immediately. But Braden Point has 25 points in the postseason. You know who else has 25 points? Nikita Kucherov. If Braden Point does not play, Nikita Kucherov has to step up. He has to. And it's not just continuing to be aggressive. No, you really have to put the puck in the back of the net.
Yep.
You know that Braden Point does a good job of setting you up. I mean, we saw what happened in game 3 when they won with 8 seconds left?
Yeah, game 3, yeah.
Who made the pass? Braden Point. Like, that's what I'm talking about. Braden Point is the big cog in the machine that is the Tampa Bay Lightning. He is the biggest, most important part of their team. If he's not playing, the Lightning's confidence is not as good. And I'm just gonna be as honest as I can be. And I think the Islanders, honestly, they don't really care whether Braden Point plays or not. They're gonna play the same way. They're not gonna just make changes. And is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't think it's a bad thing because their system, they play it to a T. We've talked about it before. Nobody plays their system better than the New York Islanders, especially on the defensive end. And you could say, oh, yeah, but the Lightning scored 8 goals or whatever the hell it was in game number 1. Yeah, it's because the Islanders were tired. You saw that because what happened in the next 4 games? Did they lose by a lot? No. Did they lose? They lost 4-1 in game number 4. Okay. All right? Like, I get that. But that wasn't – I don't call that a blowout. I really don't.
I don't either.
But nonetheless, Braden Point, if he's playing, the advantage to the Lightning. If he's not playing, the advantage is to the Islanders. And if this is the big problem too, let's say Braden Point does play, what if the Islanders win anyway?
That's fair.
I have no belief.
That's a fair assumption.
I have no belief in the Lightning because we've seen this. If you're a hockey person and you've watched the Lightning the last 5 years, you know what you're expecting right now. You know what's coming. You know it's coming. Everybody knows it. And it's going to be in their head, whether you want to believe it or not. So let's see what happens. But for all we know, the Lightning can come out, dominate game 6. They win the series. That's the end of it. We're done talking about it. Right? We're done talking about it. But if the Islanders win tonight and force a game 7, this series is over. The Islanders are going to win. I can't see a scenario in game 7 where the Lightning still pull it out. Because the Lightning are like the Clippers this year. High expectation, expected to make a championship run. You were up 3-1. If you allow the Islanders to force a game 7, I don't believe in you at all. At all. Because I
happen to agree with you.
So it's put up or shut up time for the Tampa Bay Lightning. If you're the Islanders, shoot, man, you weren't even expected to be here. You had to lose.
Exactly.
Crap if you lose game 6 and you get knocked out. Nobody. Because this team is on the rise. And I don't care about the fact that you gave an atrocious amount of money to John Gabriel Pageau. You give Barzal the money. In RFA. Give him the money or you're screwed.
Yep.
Give him the money. And Barzal, he is the guy I need to see step up. And I'm talking about scoring. Like putting the puck in the back of the net. He's their main guy. He's their superstar.
I agree.
You gotta start scoring, my friend. I'm just being honest. And if he scores tonight, the Islanders are off and running. They're off and running, bro. And my X factor in this game is the guy that you see behind me, and that's Josh Bailey. Josh Bailey, dude, he's been one of the longest tenured Islanders other than like Anders Lee.
Yep.
Josh Bailey is beloved by the New York Islander fan base. I know this. They have a song for him. That's how much he's beloved by the Josh Bailey is a big-time performer. If he scores, then the Lightning are really screwed.
Oh.
But if the Islanders get an early lead, even though they did have an early lead in Game 5 and the Lightning tied it, it's not going to be the same. The Lightning are going to be panicking because they go down early in that game. They're going to be like, oh, no. This is not
Here
good.
we go again. Yep.
And you think Trotz is nervous about
No, not in the slightest.
He's good. They're great. I mean, and winning a game in overtime like that is a huge momentum boost, a huge emotional boost. So let's see what happens in Game 6 tonight. But I'm telling you right now, Game 7 on Saturday, I don't like the Lightning's chance. Also, you gotta hope if you're Dallas that it does go to 7 games.
Yeah,
you have about a week to rest up for the Stanley Cup Finals, and it doesn't matter if you're playing the Lightning or the Islanders. You're gonna have an advantage. So
absolutely.
We shall see what happens.
This is going to be a very interesting. This is going to be a very interesting Game 6. I know I picked the Lightning to win this series, but I still don't feel good about it because, like you said, who can really trust them anymore after the last 5 years? I certainly can't. Even though, again, I did pick them to win this series in 6 or 7. I got to go back and look up myself. But listen, if the Islanders pull this off, as a Ranger fan, I'll be happy for them. And I don't like the Islanders, but considering the fact that they weren't even supposed to be here,
it's a very calm way of saying that you hate the Islanders.
Not as much as the Flyers, not as much as the Flyers, not as much as the Flyers or Devils, obviously, but
that's really weird.
More so the Flyers, but more so the Flyers. But I digress. But,
okay, Flyer. All right, whatever.
But again, considering the fact that the Islanders were on the outside looking in, were not fully healthy, were not expected to be here in the first place, and now they're this far, like you said, Neil, nobody's going to care if they lose tonight because they weren't expected to do this. And now that they're here, they're fully healthy, they've come this far, you know what? There's no reason why they can't pull this off and force a Game 7 and possibly go to the Stanley Cup Final. And if they do, again, as a Ranger fan, I'll actually be happy for them.
Well, I mean, let's be fair. They're not fully healthy. Casey.
Well, I mean, they're better than they were when they were on the outside looking in. They're better than they were before.
Well, I would say it's about the same. They're the same. You know, look, they haven't changed. You know, they're still winning. They're still having success. And Semyon Varlamov, I don't know if he's a free agent after this year. I don't think, but if he is, I know you got that. They should probably sign him to a 1 or 2 year deal and keep him. If you got Sorokin, I mean, I know you got Sorokin, who's this, you know, franchise goalie type player.
Yeah, supposedly he's a really good prospect.
That's what I'm hearing, but we don't know yet.
We'll see.
You give Varlamov money because this man is awesome.
You give him money. You give him money. You give Matt Barzal money. I could go on and on.
And I would love for them to keep Thomas Greiss. In fact, most Islander fans say they would love to keep Greiss, but they know that they can't.
Yeah.
They know that one of those guys got to go. And Varlamov, I got to be honest with you, he's gonna, you know, and you know, I'm pulling for Semyon Varlamov. I really liked him when he was in Washington. I liked him when he was in Colorado, and I liked the fact he's doing well. And I always wondered to myself, can you imagine if they had Varlamov and Robin Leonard? Right?
Oh, my God. Wow.
It's a very bad decision. But then again, if they kept Robin Leonard, they wouldn't have brought in Semyon Varlamov. So,
yeah,
you know,
that's true.
They got rid of Thomas Greiss. I mean, but you're not going to get rid of Thomas Greiss. Thomas Greiss determines when he leaves.
Yes.
But nonetheless, I'm pulling for the Islanders. I have a lot of friends that are Islander fans. I've even talked to some of them. They're ecstatic. They're ready to go for Game 6. And it's like, why not? Why not the Islanders? What the hell, man? They're the most successful team in New York for now.
Why not us?
For now. Obviously, the Yankees might do something. We'll see. You know, but right now, the most successful team in New York is the Islanders, even if you want to say, no, they're really on Long Island. It's still New York.
Who cares?
We'll see. But, yeah, let's talk about Thursday night real quick, shall we?
Yeah, unfortunately. But I'm kidding.
Of course. Look at this.
I'm only joking, man. My goodness. But in all seriousness, though, this should be a really intriguing matchup because Joe Burrow looks like he's going to be really, really solid.
I mean, screwed against the Chargers.
Oh, he most definitely. The fact that his kicker had, what was it, a 20-something yard field goal and misses it?
Of a chip shot.
The kicker should be cut immediately before tonight's game. If you can't make a 20-plus yard field, my grandma can make a 29-yard field goal.
That is why.
Right?
That is why they cut that kicker. And unfortunately, the best kicker available was none other than the legendary double doink himself, Cody Parkey.
Oh.
And I cannot wait for that. I'm telling you,
Oh my God.
It's going to come down to Cody Parkey. He's going to have to win, and he's good. And watch, he's not going to fail because I've seen this story.
This was the same guy who was on the Bears, and he did that against the Eagles, right?
That's why I said the Mr. Double Doink himself.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, I'm telling you, man, it's like Cody Parkey. I think he got signed on Monday.
I think you're right. Yeah, literally right after they played. I think they got signed.
Look, Joe Burrow looked pretty good in his first game. He looked pretty relaxed. I mean, look.
He looks very promising.
The Bengals are not a good team.
No. So neither are the Browns, but you've got the better quarterback right now, the Bengals.
I think it is safe to say you do have the better quarterback. I know that's unfair because it's like, oh, but you got a third-year guy versus a rookie, and it's like, yeah, but Baker.
Well, yeah, but
he's not that good.
Well, yeah, but the difference is, I get it. Joe Burrow was only game one for him in his NFL career, but Baker Mayfield has 2 All-Pro receivers in Odell Beckham Jr. and Jarvis Landry, and he still can't win. So what does that tell you? Yes, Baker Mayfield can throw, but if he can't win, what's the point?
I mean, look. I actually, honestly, I want to go with the Bengals just because of the fact that
same.
The Browns have never been able to exceed expectations. Everybody was saying last year they were going to the Super Bowl, and it was like, so they went from 5-11 to being a Super Bowl contender.
Pathetic.
Right. With Freddie Kitchens as his head coach, who not doing that good of a job so far with the Giants. But again, he's just a tight ends coach. I can't really get on him. But anyway, here's the thing. Baker Mayfield is a more talented yet very overrated version of Johnny Manziel.
Agreed.
Literally what I'm seeing again. Is Baker Mayfield better than Johnny Manziel? 100%. 100%. Okay? But Baker Mayfield has all this talent, a better offensive line, but his fourth head coach in the last 3 years.
And we have no idea who the hell he is.
I mean, Kevin Stefanski was the offensive coordinator for a Vikings team whose offense was in the bottom 5 in the NFL the last 2-3 years.
Yep.
I don't know what the Browns thought they were getting in Kevin Stefanski. And you lost your first game of the year. Now, you played the Ravens, and I get it. You know, they're a very good team. But you scored 6 points the entire game. And the Ravens' defense is not, like, godly, but they certainly are a top 5 defense.
I don't think those 6 points were on a touchdown.
No, I think they were both field goals.
Yeah, exactly. You don't even have a touchdown yet this season.
Yeah, and I know everybody wants to constantly point out, like you did on Tuesday, because everybody can't, and it's getting annoying, I will admit. Oh, Baker Mayfield has more progressive commercials.
It's true!
I didn't say it wasn't true. It's just like, okay, can we find something else to laugh about then? I get it. He sucks. Like, I understand, okay?
Oh,
Baker Mayfield, look. Dude, man, do I think the Browns made the wrong choice in bringing in Baker Mayfield? No, I don't.
No.
Because would Sam Darnold have done any better?
No.
Would Josh Allen have done any better?
No.
Would Saquon Barkley have done any better? No. You know what? No, Saquon Barkley would have been probably just as good. And he would have had a better offensive line, to be fair.
True.
But look, it's the Browns, ladies and gentlemen. Like, the Browns have always been this way. Why is it any different now?
Exactly.
What is even their expectation? And look, Odell did nothing. And Odell, I think, is very overrated.
And they're already looking to trade him.
Odell wants out anyway.
Yeah.
And look, don't believe anything Mike Francesa says. I don't. What he said was like, "Oh, the Browns are looking to trade Odell." How do you know that? How do you know that and no one else does? Yeah, all right. You are the most reliable source I've ever heard. Nonetheless. They're on a national stage in theory. I get it's a Thursday night game. It's not Sunday night football or Monday night football, but it is Thursday night football. You're playing against the Bengals. You're better than them, talent-wise. You better win this game, because if you go 0-2,
if you don't, then
forget you, man. Forget you. You guys are just gonna go 2-14 or 0-16 again.
I mean, because the only two people who are very talented on the Bengals roster, at least that come to my mind, are Joe Burrow so far and AJ Green. That's it. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, and look, the Bengals are not a bad football team. They're a very young football team that's trying to rebuild. Last year, they were just a bad football team. Last year, they were a bad football team. This year, young, if you're a Bengals fan, literally, you just got to sit there and be like, whatever we do is great. I mean, should they have won this past week? Absolutely. Should have won. Should have won. They should be 1-0. It's, it's ridiculous. But Joe Burrow is going up against Baker Mayfield. Joe Burrow, to me, has already shown that he's a better quarterback.
Yes.
And if the Bengals give him enough time to throw, who the hell is good on the Browns defense except Myles Garrett?
Yeah.
They cut like half of their secondary, so I don't know what the hell they have. So screw it. Give me the Bengals. I don't even care. Give me
I happen to agree with you, and I got the Bengals winning, 26-6. I mean, I don't think it's going to be close. I mean, the Browns are awful. Joe Burrow is a much better quarterback, even though it's only game 1. I get it. This is game 2 for him, but still, he's already proven he's better than Baker Mayfield, and the entire Browns roster combined so far. What's that?
17-13 is the score of my prediction. It's 17-13.
17-13. Okay.
Because neither one of these teams is like tremendous. It's not like the Browns are playing like the Ravens again, because otherwise I'd pick 38-6 again.
Yeah, that's true. So bottom line, Neil and I have the Bengals winning Thursday Night Football against the Browns. I have 26-6. Neil has 17-13. And on that note, that'll wrap it up for this episode of episode 199 of the Bottom Line Podcast. If you have any thoughts on anything we discussed, let us know on Twitter and Instagram at BottomLineWMCX, and on Twitter at the NVP Show, #BottomLine. Voice message on Anchor, the app, or at Anchor.fm. And please, again, if you are watching on YouTube, make sure you leave a like and a comment down below, and hit that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you do not miss a single episode that we upload on YouTube every Tuesday and Thursday, as well as an audio form on Apple, Google, and Spotify. Make sure you subscribe on there as well, or wherever you listen to podcasts, but include my first name, Jimmy, when searching for this podcast. Neil, next week is it. Episode 200. I cannot wait. We officially have our final guest confirmation list here. So this upcoming Tuesday, September 22nd, like I said, Neil and I will be recording on September 22nd and September 23rd. The episode will premiere September 24th that morning. So keep your eyes and your ears peeled for that. So this Tuesday, the 22nd, we will be talking to two of our great friends who have been two of our biggest supporters, Steve Durso and Garrett Novak. We'll be having them back on to maybe educate me a little more about soccer, considering the fact that I don't like it that much. But that's that. We'll get to that when we get to that. So we'll talk to our friends.
The Premier League season just got underway, so we can dive
yeah, that too. We'll definitely have to discuss that with them and maybe bring up some other past debates that are maybe worth bringing up. But we'll get to that when the time comes. But Tuesday, the 22nd, we'll be talking to our good friends Steve and Garrett, and then the 23rd. I know I said it on Twitter and social media. I'll say it again. Our good friends in First to 11 are coming back to put up with our shenanigans once again, because they will be helping us.
We're not doing Mario Kart, all right?
No.
I understand that now. I suck. I'm not good at it.
Although I do want a rematch, Matt's the Mario Kart MVP. He is an absolute god.
No, because Matt knows all what you need to do to win. Like he has
yes,
the car, the perfect character.
Although when Audra played, she kicked ass. I gotta admit, she absolutely kicked ass, and
also,
she won, and rightfully so.
Also, shout out to her because she just started a YouTube channel.
Yes.
Good for her.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, make sure you guys go subscribe to her new YouTube channel. I'll post a link in the description below. along with our good friends in First to 11's YouTube channel as well, and all those social media platforms. So make sure you look in the description of both YouTube and on Anchor, Apple, Google, and wherever. But make sure you subscribe to Audra's YouTube channel. Subscribe to Neil's podcast as well, the Mofobo Network podcast, and also the YouTube channel as well. But so, yeah, next week is it. It's going to be very, very exciting. I can't wait. So like I said, Tuesday the 22nd, Steve and Garrett will be on with us, although we'll probably do our own thing before we talk to them. And then Wednesday the 23rd, First to 11 is back with us. And by the way, make sure you watch their live stream tonight, 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. And then they have a new cover coming out tonight, so it should be fun. So stay tuned for that tonight. And also for next Thursday and every other Thursday as well. So First to 11 on Wednesday the 23rd, Steve and Garrett on Tuesday the 22nd. They will be a part of our 200th episode celebration. We cannot wait. And again, we just cannot. We'll give our long speeches next week, but to make it short right now, we seriously can't thank you enough for all of your love and support. We would not have made it this far if it wasn't for you. So if you're listening out there, if you're watching, and if you whether you've been listening since the beginning or you're just joining, thank you so much. It really does mean a lot to us. Neil, if you have anything short to say before next week, please feel free to add something.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, thank you guys. You know, like Jimmy was saying, thank you guys so much for the continued support. It's been amazing. You know, we continue to grow this channel and continue to grow the podcast every single week, talking about the most up-to-date things in the world of sports. And we really do appreciate it. And we're looking forward to another 200 more.
Yes. Cheers to 200 more episodes, my man. But stay tuned next week. Like I said, there will only be one episode, but it will be episode number 200. It will premiere Thursday, September 24th. So stay tuned for that. But Neil and I cannot wait, and we can't thank you enough for your support. For Neil Villapiano, I'm Jimmy Finizzi. This is the Bottom Line Podcast. We'll see you next week for episode number 200. Peace out.